and we are also going on Facebook Live. So a very good afternoon to one and all present here, to all the esteemed guests, faculty members, students, and other audiences, the paper presenters, and all the session guests who have joined us for this session. I, Shanu Jain, Assistant Professor, DME Management School, invite you all to the 4th day of this 8-day GSMC 2020. For the last 3 days, we have been witnessing very intriguing and knowledge-enhancing sessions on HR, OB, IT, AI, and in the morning, we had a wonderful session on financial aspects of remote working. Today's session is based on the sub-theme of socio-economic aspects of remote working. Our keynote speaker and session chair, external session chair for today's technical session is Professor Daniel. We welcome you, sir. Sir is currently a chairperson at Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Novena University, Nigeria. Sir is an expert in security and intelligence studies. He is a prolific researcher and a writer and has over 100 publications in national and international referred journals, besides book chapters and conference papers. Sir is also on the editorial or review board of over 15 international journals in Nigeria, US, UK, India, Turkey, and Bangladesh. He is at present editing 4 books on school safety, contemporary issues in global security, competitive intelligence and society, culture, and security. Sir has a special interest in cross-border education and currently the African Regional Representative of American Heritage University of Southern California and visiting professor at B. Great University College of Homeland Security and Homeland Security, Ghana. He is presently the chair of the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies at Novena University, Nigeria, and the Global Executive President of Global Intelligence, Peace and Security Institute. I once again welcome you, sir, on behalf of entire DME fraternity.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, every one of us, our esteemed participants. It's with great pleasure and with utmost humility that I present to us, even in the midst of some interesting technical hitches, this auspicious topic titled Socio-Economic Aspect of Remote Working. I hope I'm audible, Professor.
Yes, sir, you are audible. I would request the Zoom management team to, I would request Pooja ma'am and the Zoom management team to kindly look for the Facebook session thing. Also with us, we have our internal session chair for today's technical session, Dr. Shuchi Goyal ma'am. Ma'am is currently working as an assistant professor at DME Management School. She is a PhD in economics from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. She has published many research papers in various journals of repute and has presented papers in various national and international conferences. Her research interest areas include macroeconomics, microeconomics, and econometrics. We welcome you to the session, ma'am. I would request the Zoom management team to.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Before the technical session and the paper presentation, we begin with the paper presentations for the session. I would request sir to kindly begin with his master class and enlighten all of us with his esteemed knowledge on the subject. Over to you, sir. You may share your screen.
Yes, thank you very much, my esteemed professor and the entire management team of DME Novena, India. And I want to thank you once again for this wonderful opportunity granted me to present a masterclass with the title Socio-Economic Aspect of Remote Working. And I must admit that I would thank you especially for, tolerating what I consider as, needless technical hitches that has kept up waiting. I sincerely apologize on behalf of myself and on behalf of probably the challenge of technological development from the developing countries, including Nigeria, where I come from. And having said that, I thank you all principal officers of DME Novena, India, and I thank the organizers of this program. You've been doing quite a lot of wonderful jobs because I remember that 2 days ago, I was one of the participants in one of your sessions, and it was very wonderful. I really wanted to have an insight into how it's been organized, and you guys are doing a great job. Greetings from Nigeria, greetings from Novena University, Nigeria, greetings from the Department of Intelligence and Security Studies. I am supposed to talk for about 45 minutes maximum from the briefings I've gotten before now, and I'm going to look at the topic socio-economic aspect of remote working. And of course, I'll crave your indulgence that in the course of my presentation, I'm going to look at what is obtainable, in the advanced countries of the world, and of course, the challenges we are having here in the developing economies, including Nigeria, where I come from. So that we'll be looking at two scenarios. The socioeconomic aspect of remote working in the advanced world, what it should be, and the economic aspect of remote working in developing countries. I'm going to use Africa and Nigeria in particular as my example. So let us start by looking at key axioms about remote working. What is it all about? In the course of the last few days, all the presenters have been trying as much as possible to look at the rationale and the meaning of remote working, teleworking, whatever name that we are giving to it, it all means the same thing. But there are key axioms that are immutable that I want us to be looking at here. And I want to say that the first axiom that we're going to look at is that remote working is a product of postmodernism. Capitalism has developed over the years and over the centuries, and in the process of high mass production, and where machines have been taking over the hitherto activities that were conducted by human beings, it got to a stage where there was need to begin to push some of these responsibilities to remote settings where workers or employees can stay in their homes, set up a kind of workstation, and be doing exactly what they should be doing in their offices from home. And I also want to say that the second key axiom is the fact that the impact of globalization and massive advances in information communication technology has created the inevitability of the ICT, and because the ICT has come to stay, remote working happens to be one of the byproducts of the advances in ICT. I will also say that the third axiom is the consequential effects of what we have today as the current global pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced the entire universe, the entire world, to begin to look at alternative working situations that will enforce social distancing by the dictates of the government and public health agencies to ensure that physical contact is highly minimized. So these three axioms, the case of postmodernism, the effect of globalization and massive advances in ICT, and the consequential effects of the current global pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, are the three key axioms that will guide us as to the imperatives of remote working in present-day society. Having said that, I need to also state that remote working has become the new normal. Studies have shown that the realities of work future lies in remote working. It is part and parcel of the reality of the advances of postmodernism that I stated in the first instance. And this reality at present is being fast-forwarded by the rage of COVID-19 all over the world. The third aspect of remote working as part of the new normal is the fact that government, in a bid to protect the safety of the entire citizenry, had given strong directives as state policies, and of course from the medical agencies in our modern societies, that people should rather stay at home to work as much as possible instead of going physically to work in their offices. The fourth reality here is that advanced economies already have remote working as part of their key realities, and for me, they have already kickstarted it, while developing economies such as that of Africa, such as that of Nigeria, have jump-started remote working. Now, the next thing I want us to look at is that by the reality of globalization and advances in information communication technology, big corporations all over the world have embarked on strong innovations in establishing strong critical communication infrastructures that provided sustainable connectivity and first-time prioritization. They have also designed substantial coaching to support work and life balance to ensure optimum productivity via remote working. I am looking at some of the realities that big corporations in advanced countries have embarked upon, and they've also succeeded in creating sustainable opportunities for remote social interactions, so that as much as possible, working from remote setting will be as close as possible as working within the company setting. The third arrangement that these big corporations have made so far that I have identified is sustaining motivation to ensure success. These are some of the veritable steps that big corporations have succeeded in doing in preparedness for remote working, parcel of the new normal that they have introduced as part of postmodernism. What are the surveys saying about big corporations? Researchers have shown that the CEO of the 15-5, a Silicon Valley company, reported that nearly 1 in 4 managers, supervisors, and executives he had interacted with says that employee quality of life has improved. 1 in 5 have seen progress in productivity. Ironically, 3 in 5 also indicated communication with remote employees was as good or better than those in-house. So you can see that the survey conducted around some big corporations in advanced countries have really shown that it is workable, it is working, and it is worth doing. It is almost approximating in-house situation. Now, as part and parcel of the sub-themes of the socio-economic situations around remote working, I have gone further to look at remote working and income analysis. And research tend to show that remote work tend to worsen inequality by mostly helping high income earners. It also shows that remote work can also be a source of socioeconomic inequality for workers in many different ways. And these are related to the job sector and employers, as well as to the loss of the benefits associated with remote work. And I want to give you a practical example. Now, take for instance, a situation where some managerial staff are entitled to a lot of extra income as a result of visiting sites to evaluate, on-site situation, and entitled to series of extra codes. By remote working, you realize that you are not permitted to go, you are asked to do it from the confines of your home, and that invariably denies you those extra codes and income that you are entitled to. It has also been established that extra income and real improved income is not available to all types of occupations when it comes to remote working. And it is estimated that it is only 4 out of 10 major occupations that remote working can fit into. Personal trainers, restaurant workers, and many other forms of physically imperative jobs may be forced to lay off. So in case of remote working and income analysis, it can be widely established that apart from those few jobs, 4 out of 10, that remote working can actually, sustain and increase income, the vast majority of the other occupations may actually have a drop in income, just as I have said. Now, the next thing I want to look at is remote working and mental health. And research have shown a correlation between mental health and productivity. People who have experienced better mental health during the pandemic than before are about 2 times more likely to maintain or improve their productivity on collaborative tasks than those who have experienced worse mental health. What am I trying to say here? The general awareness of the impact of mental health on work has been increasing, and the pandemic stress and anxiety are therefore risk factors that remote working can actually help to alleviate. Let's look at remote working and homemakers and children. I know that 2 days ago, one of our masterclass presenters presented to us a video of a remote worker at home and the kids running into to cause distraction. We know that such distractions coming from kids and from family members are major challenges of remote workers within the home environment, because we know that working at home remotely can be a bit problematic with the obvious interruption by family members and children. But it is also possible that with appropriate arrangement, these can be confronted with effective multitasking skills and abilities. And of course, research has shown that this challenge is surmountable. I also look very briefly about remote working and sexual harassment. And we know that virtual environment could actually reduce rampant cases of sexual harassment prevalent in real and physical environments. That is not to say that virtual environments are completely free from sexual predation or harassment, but we are saying that comparatively, virtual environment could actually attenuate rampant cases of sexual harassment, which is prevalent in real and physical environment. I also quickly looked at remote working and migration. Interstate migrations and urbanization effects are positively accommodated because the challenges of moving from one city to another, the challenges of transfer from one location and another, the challenges of trying to fit into the urban realities by workers who move from one location to another have been appropriately accommodated within the confines of remote working, which is a plus. And on the next slide, which I've not been able to share, but I hope to share that eventually, I showed a picture of the challenges of remote working in developing nations. The bulk of the success of remote working, all the strengths of remote working that researchers have found so far appear to have been working effectively in the advanced and industrialized economies. But because we are products of globalization, there is no way we can remove the developing nations from the web of globalization, from the web of global industrialization. However, I make bold to state, as someone who have lived in the advanced countries of this world and equally come from the developing country of Africa, Nigeria to be precise, there are a lot of challenges that are associated with remote working in developing nations. And I'm going to look at some of them and look at how we can overcome them. And what are the current realities of remote working in developing nations? One of the first realities is that a large number of workers remain in low productivity jobs, often in the informal sector. Firms whose access to technology is poor. In Nigeria and the bulk of Africa, the bulk of the workers in the African economy, in the Nigerian economy, are mainly found in the informal sector. And of course, coupled with that is the low access to technology. In some cases, there is no technology at all. Overall, about 2/3 of the entire labor force in those economies are informal. Virtually almost all the countries on the continent of Africa, including Nigeria, indeed have 60% of the entire population in the informal sector, except for very few countries like the Republic of South Africa, that one can say that they have made a substantive jump start into the industrial economy. All the other 53 countries are still battling to transit from a mainly informal economy to a formal economy. In fact, research has shown that in sub-Saharan Africa, informality remains an average at around 75%. Indeed, three quarters of the entire economy is in the informal sector. So you can understand that the informality of this sector had already precluded them from access to modern technology, which is the main foundation for remote working. The other reality is that remote work presents some complexity for companies in Africa. From research, including some of the researchers have conducted, there are factors, some of these complexities that companies face in developing nations eventually affect productivity, and it must be considered if the business is going to suffer or if remote working is not possible in the first place. Now, what are the major challenges facing remote workers in developing nations? One of the greatest challenges is the power problems. I can tell you that the bulk of African countries, including Nigeria, have low access to power. And I know that the bulk of rural India have the same problem. Indeed, the bulk of what I'm talking about with regards to developing nations when it comes to remote working is also applicable to India. I'm not ignorant of the fact that India is actually trying to do a lot of quantum leap towards industrialization, and they have actually advanced in terms of information communication technology. That must be acknowledged, and I know that India is also trying to push access to information communication technology to rural India, but a lot of our experiences in Africa are the same with part of what you people are experiencing over there in India. Another challenge is the challenge of low bandwidth or unavailability of internet connectivity. This has been practically demonstrated in the course of trying to share my PowerPoint to this conference. You can see that I started a bit late, apparently because of this technological challenge. Because I know that if I were to be delivering this lecture from the United States of America or from Europe, part of these initial pitches wouldn't have been there in the first place. We also have limited space to accommodate workplaces. For effective remote working to take place, you need to create a workplace within the confines of your home. But in a situation where the space is limited in your home environment, it will be difficult for you to create a comfortable workplace from where you can work on remote basis. So you can see that accommodation, limited space to accommodate a very workable remote workplace is also a major challenge. Another challenge in developing economies which I have identified is social media interference, loneliness and anxiety, shifting from work time to free time, and of course, the overriding challenge of financial difficulties in developing nations. Now, I can't just talk about the challenges. I have some of the solutions to the challenges of remote working in developing nations. And part of the solutions I'm trying to profile, which should be some policy guidelines to some of our governments that are still battling with these challenges, is that I have stated here that nations, economies should maximize hours of electricity supply availability. And let me tell us something that will interest all of us. I am from Nigeria. Nigeria has a population of 200 million people. And as I speak to you right now, we are still managing just 5,000 megawatts of electricity supply for a population of 200 million people. South Africa is doing fantastically well, because for a population of 50 million, I think South Africa is doing 50,000 megawatts, and it is fantastic. I know that the North African countries are doing quite well and doing very well. But Sub-Saharan Africa, which includes Nigeria, is doing very badly. We have a great challenge of power supply, and that has to be tackled. In Nigeria, unfortunately, corruption over time has really frustrated all genuine efforts to ensure stable electricity supply. The next solution is for these developing economies to subscribe to the best internet connections. We are still having problems with internet connections in Africa. We're having problems with internet connections in Nigeria. And I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we are having problems hearing me perfectly is as a result, apparently, of internet connection. We are battling with 4G. Most nations have migrated to 5G already, and even the 4G is not very effective in Africa and in Nigeria in particular. So we keep managing what we can afford within the realities of internet technology. And we should also try to exceed organizational targets by building a personal assessment management system. If you are working on a remote basis, you set guidelines, you set targets for yourself, and you build your energy and effort towards realizing that. And above all, nations, developing nations, to embark on massive poverty reduction program and ensure that there is real social inclusion that will lift millions of people out of the abyss of poverty. Now, having talked about the solution to the challenges of remote working in developing nations, I migrated once more to general solutions to socio-economic challenges in remote working. And I have identified the following solutions. One of them is that companies need to find ways of supporting employees' mental health in the new remote and hybrid workplace. What are we saying? We are suggesting, experts are suggesting, that there should be a middle course, half in-house, half remote working, in such a way that the mental health of the employees will be balanced. Of course, that there should be efforts to encourage employees' physical health. Employers need to create new structures that make it easy for employees to remain fit and well, and these can either be offered as benefits or be built into the work day itself. In the same vein, I also advocated that companies were already investing in tools, and of course they have to improve for the virtual workplace before the COVID-19 outbreak. But the pandemic has accelerated the rate at which employers are coming up with ways to ensure that employees have all the equipment they need to work efficiently. And this must be done in a comprehensive manner so that remote working will be successful and will be effective, and the physical health of the workers will be guaranteed. I also did advocate that investment in physical infrastructure support, such as daycare and digital technologies, will of course be essential. But to benefit fully from the changes, organizations need to focus on helping leaders, managers, and employees in one swoop. It should be a comprehensive arrangement that the entire team, management, leaders, and employees are accommodated. And the next thing I looked at is living with the new realities, living with the new normal. And I said companies should be urgently investing in building their virtual social intimacy muscles. Because one of the greatest challenges is usually a crack, that humanity, that emotive, connection that we experience in-house. Companies should devise effective emotive arrangement that the social intimacy will weave around to create a situation where that emotive connection is guaranteed. There is also the need for companies to also ensure they need to make adequate transition from on-site to remote work environment to be as smooth as possible, so that the quake and the change will not affect the psyche of workers. And the next thing I looked at, can employers make remote working a worthwhile experience? And I said yes, that employers need to make transitions between on-site and remote work as smooth as possible, giving employees a cohesive experience that feels designed, not random, and allows them to perform at their best, whether they are working on site or whether they are working remotely. Concluding thoughts. I concluded that working remotely is the new normal. There are no two ways about it. Focusing on the well-being and social connectivity will serve another important purpose. Therefore, helping employees to recover faster from what, and for so many people, has been a traumatic, painful, and stressful period, and that this is not only good for the business, it is good for every one of us as part and parcel of the industrial sector, part and parcel of the present reality of modern society. And I want to use this opportunity and to thank you for tolerating me within this period. I want to thank you for your kind attention and to wish all of us a fruitful deliberation even as we proceed to the technical session. Thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you. God bless you. DME. I love you all. Thank you. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a very insightful session, what all we could make. So these are the perils of the technology, some advantages, some disadvantages. The advantages that we are able to connect to you even from the remote locations, but somewhere the technical glitches do creep in. So nevertheless, sir, that was a very insightful session. Thank you so much once again. I would take this opportunity to welcome the other session chairs, the esteemed guests for our conference, Professor Acharya from Nepal, Professor Yasir from Saudi Arabia, Professor Dr. Purva Ranjan ma'am, HOD, DME Management School, Dr. Swati Jain ma'am, Head Outreach, DME, Professor Amrish Saxena sir, Dean DME Media School. So I welcome you all to this session on socio-economic aspects of remote working. So we would now be beginning with our technical session. So I would take this moment to share the schedule and the criteria for presentation which we will be following. So I would be requesting Parul ma'am and Rodi ma'am to brief sir about the presentation criteria. So this is these are the 5 criteria which we will be using for marking by both the session chairs, external and internal session chairs. So we would be, the criteria will be objectives and research design, conclusion and recommendation, query handling, adherence to time, uniqueness and originality of idea, and presentation skills. So 50 marks each by external and internal session chairs. So we would be requesting the first presenter of the day, Gauri ma'am, to start her presentation with. The topic of her presentation is impact of remote working on homemakers and children, multitasking role of sheros and cherubs.
Before that, Shanu ma'am,
Yes,
before ma'am shares her screen, Shuchi ma'am, who is the internal session chair, and Dr. Daniel, external session chair, I have given you the rights to edit the sheet, but it would be great if you could just check once whether you're able to input any number in that or not, and kindly confirm the same.
Okay, ma'am, just a second. Yes, ma'am, it's editable for me.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Daniel, if I can have this conversation, confirmation from you also.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Parul ma'am. Thank you, Shuchi ma'am and Daniel sir. So I would request Gauri ma'am to please share her screen and start with her presentation. I would request the Zoom management team to...
Thank you, ma'am. It just got unmuted, so thank you. So my name is Kedara Gauri Avula and I am from South Zone. I'll be presenting you on the impact of homemakers and children, effects of work from home on homemakers and children. So to start with, so the impact of remote working on homemakers and children, multitasking role of sheros and sherubs. I'll be walking you through the table, introduction, objectives, research methodology, data analysis, recommendations, conclusion, and finalize with the question and answer session. So as you can see in the image, which we have been going through all over the week. So this is regarding the regarding Professor Robert Kelly's when he was being interviewed live on BBC, the news about South Korea. So this is not regarding the news, but what happened during the session is very important here. So the session was interrupted by 2 of his kids who just got into the room and they just wanted to play. Meanwhile, his wife frantically rushed into the room and she grabbed hold of both the children and got them out of the room. When she was interviewed again by BBC, what she mentioned was very interesting, strange, and that is what we need to know, is that she was worried if her husband would not get a chance again with the BBC, and she wanted to give him a chance to do it. So this went viral in 2017, and this also gives a chance that the work from home has become a Trojan horse in the lives of homemakers and children. The sharing of the responsibilities are often being ignored. Things like stress factors are being overlooked, which in long term causes many physical and psychological problems. The times have changed. Not all homemakers are housewives. The homemaker has now become employed, as well as she needs to take care of the home needs. So she has to play a multitasking role. So the objective here is this can be practically made use of ourselves, where we work, we have been through various things. So every homemaker, every person whoever goes to home, any female can had been gone through it during this COVID season. So the focus on the reason why I have chosen this topic is because this is something we can all relate, and all the practical issues have been made as a questionnaire and shared it with them. So I'll be coming over it a bit later, but the focus is on all different aspects and how they reflect on the lives of homemakers and children. To start with, homemaker. She has responsibility in taking all the basic needs of the home. Normal days before COVID season, it was like she has to work the life where she has to balance with her life as well as the work life. Then the entertainment, she has a balance of home chores where she has to cope up with the cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children, family, and everything. So this kind of was a work-life balance all through the normality. But the new normality is there is nowhere to go. She has no boundaries between the work and home. So the work has been increasing. She has to multitask in all the aspects. And she always has high expectations which was never recognized.
Because I'll be grading those presenters.
So as you can see in this the image, there are multiple implications on her or on the children as well, which is like every word that says with no TV, no music, no shouting, no background noises, not to come behind during a video call, not to play in this room. For the children, it's like no playing in this room, no classrooms, no classes in the other room, and keep control of your pets if any. So these are kind of implications and duties which a homemaker has to go through. Then coming to the children, normal days, it's like they go to the school, then maybe tuition or a sport after the school, or maybe they will directly come home, spend some time with their parents and study, and they will go to sleep. There was a routine that has been set. The new normality is that the routine has been drastically impacted. So they are stuck at home, both for the academic as well as the social lives. And there are again the implications, whatever from the adults, which always starts with no. And as you can see on the screen, no TV, no music, all that. So this affects not only on the current lives of the children, but also affects on the future. So to identify the problems, as well as this is a thought-provoking analysis where you will see why I called it thought-provoking. But I have made an empirical analysis using a questionnaire method and formulated the questions to derive all the variables that I needed. And I have used Google Forms to use it. And I have also put an open-ended questions instead of the interview method to exactly take the actual views of the participants. I have distributed this online and in the social media, analyzed and interpreted the data through using the spreadsheets. And I got 47 participants because I have been through many of the questionnaires as it is. So I got only 47. Then coming to the data analysis. So as you can see on the screen, I have majority of the participants from Hyderabad and mostly from Andhra Pradesh, and then from Bangalore, Kerala, and not only from India. I have got few of the participants from DGM, Kuala Lumpur, Germany, and Ashburn, Dallas, and Memphis from USA. So majority of the participants in my the demographic, which the age factor when you see, so the majority of them are from in between the age of 18 years to 30 years, and then the 31 to 40 years, and 41 to 50 years. And I have, because there are cheer-ups which are children, so I have to take this survey started from the age of 10 years all through the way to 70 years. So this is a form that I have made, like anyone can fill in, because on behalf of someone they can fill in. I've formulated the questions in such a way that not only the wife or not only the husband can fill in, but anyone from their family can fill in. And that said, they can also analyze that how they are treating their wives or how they are treating the female member in their family. So this is what the thought-provoking analysis I have, the questions that I have formulated. So is the homemaker employed? So 36% has said that the homemaker is employed, whereas 64% mentioned that the homemaker is not employed. When we come to the family as a factor, then most of the members are there in the nuclear family, where the majority of the burden depends on the female, unless the male partner is working with them and children are also taking responsibility in it. And joint family, this is kind of a blessing in disguise, as well as if not everyone is participating, then the female member of the family will automatically have a lot of burden. So members that are working from the family, here when you see the gender, 55% of the members are female. So when you see here, when they say that myself, it also has a female, then mother is a female, sister, wife, daughter. So there are majority of the females who have participated in this analysis, who have participated in this questionnaire, who did this questionnaire. So the time they start the work, that their time starts in the morning, is from the range between before 5 all the way to 8. So majority of the participants are mentioned that their day starts in between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. But there are 6.4% that said that their day will start even before 5 a.m. So the physical stress will automatically start in this kind of a range, and their work will end in between 7 and 8 to be measured. But the stress factor is here is that there is no such boundaries is what we are more concerned about, as well as those who are starting their work 21% between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. So to interpret the analysis, I have categorized it into 3 different types. One is the cheer-ups who are below 18 years, who are taking classes online. So those who are taking classes online are, again, once they finish their online classes or once they are graduated, they become employees and still are home and are working. But I'm not taking into consideration who are below 30 years but they are married, because once the wife will come, she will take care of the rest of the things. So here the morning sessions usually starts from, the girl said that they will start either at 5 o'clock or in between 5 and 7, but the boys has mentioned that they will start from in between 7 and 8. The children, these are the responses that I got from the children. So they say that the father takes care of the grocery shopping, mother takes care of both the girls and boys, mother takes care of cooking and cleaning. Here the guests, when the guests come, the mother, father, or they themselves will take care. Both mother and father takes equal care of their health of the family. Majority of the kids opine that the stress factor do not apply to them except for their education and health of the family. Most of the children spend time on social media or making calls to be in touch with their family and friends, and that's the way they manage the social relationships. For majority of the children, weekend is a me time rather than a family time, where they are occupied in chatting, movies, IPL, or any other sports on TV. Finally, as per the opinion, this is the opinion because I have made a question where you need to ask the homemaker if she is okay with the sustainability of the work from home. So this is the opinion of the homemaker where she said yes, and the reason could be that they are constantly under the supervision of the parent and learning from home at the same time. So that said, let's come to the duties of the homemaker: cooking, cleaning, laundry, shopping, taking care of the family, health of the family, taking care of the children, taking care of you is whoever it could be. It can be herself or it can be any person, whoever is filling this form. Then coming to the next category, the children who are working from home and children who are living separately. So children who are working from home are a bit mature than the small children. So they are responsible, they take the responsibility in shopping and cleaning and then helping the chores of the home. Majority of the boys responded that they do not help their moms as they always are on the call or they have no such boundaries and they need to focus more or they have to be more attentive all the time. So this is a new normal that though they want to do it, they are unable to do it. So as per the opinion of the homemakers about their working from home, there is a big no because, and I have got a comment which says that my mom will kill me. Though it is funny, but we can understand how frustrating it is for the homemakers. And those people who are living away from the home, they are aware of the situation, whatever is happening, and they are experienced of the home work from home either in the past or current, and they will be they themselves mentioned in a comment that as I'm aware of what I am supposed to do, what I am not supposed to do, maybe I'll have a good future is what they have said, but because of the time constraint and space, I'm not able to show it here. So the situation of the homemakers, there are some interesting differences between the age, gender and wake up time, which is like the boys has mentioned boys up to 30 years have mentioned that they wake up between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. But girls or ladies wake up before 5 a.m. or in between 5 and 6. The homemakers in between 50 to 60 years also wake up in between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. no matter if they are living in a joint family or in a nuclear family. 31 to 40 years have a variation in times that few of them wake up all the way from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. I really apologize, but it's already 13 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. So I'll make it quick. So as you can see on the screen, these are the questions that I have asked, and for all of them I have got S, but when they are filling it up, they'll think about what they have done or what they are doing at home. So this is a thought-provoking analysis. And I have already asked them a few questions of what kind of stress factors they are going. For the children, it's the education, job, health, and family, the health of the family members. But the homemakers are actually worried about the work-life balance, parents, in-laws' health, the concept of work from home itself, pay factors, and that they will lose their jobs, the behavior in a negative impact. And when the isolation factor is also very important for the homemakers. Here, the recommendations are very concise because there are majority of the recommendations like making the work-life balance, setting up the boundaries. But here, as a law student, what I would say is I have not involved any kind of domestic violence factor here because I should not give them a chance to the young minds, whoever is filling this form, that this is a normal or this is a new normal in the families, that this can happen. The domestic violence can happen. So I did not want to get that kind of a negative effect on the homemakers, which will negatively, physically and psychologically make a negative effect. And the interesting factor is that majority of the participants are not even aware of the legal meaning of the domestic violence. They say that paying or giving rents is also considered to be domestic violence, which I got through the last research paper that I have done. So, but this has created a further scope of research. To conclude, as a family, it is mandatory to share the responsibilities for the betterment of the family and sustainability of homemakers. Homemakers of all ages had to take up even more responsibilities compared to the usual work from home. Work from home is a pro for the students, for the children, and is a con for the homemakers. But if you have to sustain with the work from home, here she is a hero. We consider her to be a hero. So it is mandatory that every family member has to take their share of the responsibility for the betterment of the family, and with which there is a sustainability in the work from home. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the wonderful insights. So I would request Professor Daniel to ask any questions if he has, and also to Dr. Shuchi Goyal, ma'am. Sir, if you have any questions, you may, yes, sir.
Yes, am I audible now? Because I have just a few, 1 or 2 questions and
Yes, sir,
maybe
you are audible.
a comment. Okay, so,
Yes, sir.
well, let me thank the last presenter, Kadura. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you, sir.
That's quite insightful. I want to quickly find out, knowing fully well the sensitive nature of the subject under study. When you're talking about home, you're talking about husband and wives and children. How much did you take care of the ethical considerations, knowing fully well the research requirements of dealing with such, subjects, like when it comes to household analysis? What ethical considerations did you take to protect their anonymity and to ensure that the responses that you got from these households are valid?
So to answer your question, first of all, my question is formulated in such a way that their name or their gender, they don't have to make it mandatory. So whether I have already made a note that if you are very much flexible or if you really want, this is only for the purpose of the research, and I have also mentioned that for whom I am doing this research in such a way that they exactly know that I am doing it for the research purpose only, and this will not go anything out on the paper unless explicitly I have written it explicitly, and then I have made it. There are few questions which are mandatory, but whether it's regarding their place or birth or the gender or their name or any kind of those details, I have made it completely anonymous. They don't have to share anything to me, and they don't have to convey anything who they are and why they are saying it. Everything is only I made this gender as a mandatory thing because I wanted to know how many members, because this is regarding the female, I want to know how many females are participating, and that also I have explicitly mentioned. So here it's because it is in favor of them, it is for the benefit of the society. I really wanted to know and share it as a research paper, because this has like variety of opportunities and this is a new normality. We have going through everything. So because every paper has a different kinds of proposals, like the internet has to be the connectivity of internet or the electricity, everything has been mentioned. But something like this which we go on every day on our basis in a daily life, this is where the women or children has been drastically impacted, and this has to come forward to the society. And though it might not make a very big difference, at least it will, those who are actually filling up the form, that is thought provoking, like, oh, my wife is going through this much or my daughter is going through this much. So this is the aspect that I have made them understand before they fill in the form, where I have mentioned like a small story. This is why I'm taking all these things from you. And if you have any kind of comments or suggestions, please share. Or if you are not well aware of anything or you don't want to do it, it's fine. So this is something I have made myself clear to all the participants even before I started to give them the questioning. And whoever are really interested, that might also be the reason why I have got only 47 of the results, because most of them would have, like, because this is a long questionnaire, they might have had filled into the halfway and then they would have closed it. But this is something that I wanted to put into the society, make everyone think about it. That's the reason I have made it explicitly to certain kind of problems only, sir.
Okay, so that's a good one. But let me add, because there is something we're always living out when we're doing research of this nature. I know that India, just like Africa, where I come from, has a large rural population. And because from what you are doing, this research is actually directed as literate persons. I didn't see provision, maybe even within your recommendation, or maybe the need for further research to look beyond urban India and to begin to examine what happens in rural India, which has a very large population to the best of my knowledge. So I suggest that in researches like this, we should actually translate into a policy statement over time. Every sector of the Indian population should be taken care of, either as a way of direct policy recommendation or the need to stimulate further studies by way of indicating that, that further studies should be undertaken to cover this part of India. Because I know that when you're talking about rural India, the instrument for data collection shouldn't be the questionnaire, because most of them will not be able to understand the intricacies of answering questionnaires. So I just needed to point that so that it will guide you in your subsequent research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Shuchi, ma'am, your questions to the presenter.
A nice presentation, Ms. Gauri. Okay, I have a few questions. How many, you have mentioned your sample size, but out of the total sample size, how many were the children and how many were the homemakers who were surveyed?
I think there are like 10 children, ma'am, and 55% of them are the homemakers, female, and 36% of the homemakers are employed.
55% of the sample are the homemakers.
Are the female, and 36% are the are employed.
Okay, out of 55%, 6% are employed, rest are non-working. Okay, and how did you choose this sample? How did you select the people who are to be surveyed? Did you follow any sampling or it was a random sample?
It was a random sampling because the number of amount that I got itself is less, so I cannot like take any random sampling method here. I have to take it as it is. So I took as it is, and I made an analysis like going through each and every column of the survey, because once we get the Google forms, then the Excel spreadsheet will start. So I started to analyze each and every column of it and to see exactly what they are saying.
Yeah, okay. So because I also agree that this Google Forms thing is mainly for the people who are tech savvy. So we cannot give a true we cannot represent the situation of those homemakers or those children, ideally more so about the homemakers who are not tech savvy, who cannot make use of Google Forms. So their situation would not be adequately captured through such survey method. That is
I
one.
totally understand, ma'am. But during this COVID lockdown, because we cannot go out anywhere, or else the same form I would have taken a printout or made it through a different source. I'd have given handouts to them, made them do it, and got them back. And then the sampling method would all to be different. But due to this lockdown, because of the crunch of the time as well, so this was the shortest method that I could get through.
Okay, okay. And amongst the homemakers and children, who would you say was affected more by remote working and how? In a negative manner or in a positive manner?
In the positive manner, the male, and not only because of the what I got, even the literature review says that the male partners are really getting the best of it, because the productivity has been increasing, the promotions has been increasing. Even in my survey, it is said that the male partner is not being affected in any way.
So
But
male partners were also surveyed. How did you conclude about the male partners?
because I have given the gender, so depending on the gender, I can make the variation if they which family member is actually filling this up, because of the age, gender, all these factors, and even the comment when what do you say about the homemaker. So these are the three things that made me come to an analysis where who is actually making this, who is doing this questionnaire.
Okay, so it was not the females among the homemakers who had filled this questionnaire along with children? The males have also filled the questionnaire.
Males also have filled the questionnaire now.
Okay,
males,
okay.
Females, and children. Three of them have filled the questionnaire.
How many males were a part of your sample?
It's actually 55% of them are males, 65% of them are females. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just
so almost half of the males.
Yeah, almost half. Like 10% or more. The females are 10% more than males.
And how did you segregate the impact of remote working on homemakers who are employed and those who are not employed?
So that
This
is
is
something.
overall. You are talking about the impact of remote working on homemakers.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
amongst the homemakers, some might be employed, some might not be employed. So how did you take into account this difference?
I have actually asked them, ma'am, that which part, who is working in the home, like who, uh, who is a relative or who the member of the family who is working from home. So any person, they can say, like, if I'm doing this questionnaire, it says that myself or my wife or my son or my daughter. So I have made the check boxes where if everyone is working in the home also, I'll get the exact details of who is working there in their home.
So the impact has been more on the employed homemakers or unemployed homemakers?
It's more on the employed homemakers, because there is no one of the women said that once my daughter goes to sleep, and that's exactly what the first day when mom was saying this, she was exactly saying the same thing, where once her daughter goes to sleep, she has to get back to work and do it. So this is something that they don't have the boundaries in between work and life, and more of it, the stress factor is becoming more. And more than the work-life balance, it's like once she has to get to it, she has to fulfill it, and then again she has to get back to the work, and she does not really have that sleep time or the work time and anything. It's like continuously she has to work, and there is no entertainment as well.
Okay, Ms. Gauri. Shanu ma'am, over to you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Shuchi, ma'am. Thank you, Gauri, ma'am. So now we have our next presenter, Tejasri, ma'am. So I would request Tejasri, ma'am, to kindly share her screen. And the title of her paper is Socio-Legal Impacts on Ecology at Work from Home Practices. So I would request the Zoom team to... You are audible, ma'am, but your voice is breaking in between, Tejasri, ma'am. Please try again.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, a very good evening, ma'am. You may please start sharing your screen and your presentation, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. 1 minute. Yeah, my title is Socio-Legal Impacts on Ecology at Work from Home. The table of contents are Introduction, Remote Working, Ecology, COVID symptoms.
I apologize for interfering, ma'am, but your PPT is currently not visible. You have to share the PPT screen. We can now share your folder, but not the PPT. So you may either open it or you share the PPT window where you have opened this PowerPoint presentation.
I have shared the PPT only.
Ma'am, currently I can see on the screen is your folder. I can see DMC by the name of DMC, but the PPT DMC you have to open, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, you may click the, you please try open. Not yet, ma'am. I can still not see your PPT.
Okay. Can you suggest me how could I open?
Ma'am, once you share screen,
Ma'am, kindly.
Yes, ma'am.
First, stop sharing this particular screen.
Tejasri, ma'am, you may stop share the screen currently, which is running. We'll help you with from the scratch. We'll help you.
We'll help you step by step. We'll tell you one by one what to do. Just stop sharing this. On the upside, it is written stop. Just click that.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Now
can I continue?
open that PPT. Now open that PPT. You have
Open.
opened it?
Yes.
Yeah, don't minimize it. Don't minimize it.
Okay.
Now come
Okay.
to Zoom window. See the window. Don't minimize it.
Okay. I didn't minimize.
Now go for share screen. And don't share it. Just go for share screen.
Yeah,
Could you
share
see
screen.
your PPT opened?
Yes.
Click that. Click that.
Okay. Is it visible?
And now share. Yes, now it is visible.
Now it's visible, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. My topic is socio-legal impacts on ecology at work from home. I'm a scholar in KL deemed to be university and as a junior advocate in Nellore, Andhra Pradesh, India. The table of contents of the present presentation is about introduction, remote working, ecology, COVID symptoms on ecology, social impacts and legal impacts, conclusion, and introduction. Basically, remote working allows the employees to do work without physical appearance and even to sit at her residence also. Remote working by way of phone calls and through online mode, everything remote working can be developed. The ulterior motto is to complete the given work with accuracy. All the people or stakeholders who wish to participate can proceed through different modes like telephones, blue jeans, Zoom, etc. The main objectives of this presentation is to develop an integral responsibility towards an ecology through mankind. That means everybody should take a responsibility towards ecology, not basis on the selfishness or whatever the work will have finished. It is the main criteria, not anything responsible on the whole society or the ecology development. And next, to improve ecological standards by way of remote working. By then, according to some research survey, the pollution on the COVID crisis will become very less due to remote working or not coming outside, etc. So that the ecological standards also should be improved. The remote working, third objective is the remote working can be initiated by reusable of radiation leads to ecological development. Not only the radiation, which the now remote working is purely based on networking, telephone signals. Due to this usage of more usage, the radiation becomes very high, so that the ecology is very damaged. So that the third objective, in my opinion, is remote working can be initiated by reusable of radiation leads to ecological development. And next, research methodology. For this presentation, I choose observation method. Observation method means here I would like to say whatever how the remote working people or the employees, how they are working remote working by using how they behave on basis of what ecology point of view they have worked. Okay. Next, participant method. Participant method means I usually go to that remote working people or home work from home employees, and I usually observed that, and I usually participate with that person. Survey method means most of the participant, and from observation method I have made a survey on my board and made a random and made to choose some random opinions. Questionnaire method means by using Google form or with interact on that person, I use it to give that a paper or anything to print out and give that and bring that opinion also. And next, data analysis. The data analysis, data collection from different sources of website. First of all, it made very inconvenient that to go to library or my university library, I can't go there. they didn't accept me to collect that information. So that I used different sources of websites, case laws, and Google Forms only, and interviews through by using text from that participants. Next, yeah, I would like to share. Now we are going to see a full paper. Remote working. What is meant by remote working means remote working. Already we have seen in the introduction that remote working are the allows employees without any physical appearance or wish to participate to regulate the concerned work by way of telephones or blue jeans, etc. Pros and cons of remote working. It is advantages and disadvantages of remote working. It is simply to implement and maintain high reliability and availability. Expansion of network will be easier than traditional wired LAN. In order to enhance, employees should be well trained to use VPNs. These are all the advantages that mobile data is very frequently used and very attractable packages are there, so that everybody is to use remote working rather than traditional work. Suppose what is meant by remote working, we can see very clear in that illustration. Suppose working people. Oh, tell me, ma'am.
This breaking in
employees who have working software secondly for the. Oh. First, next we come to know the ecology. Ecology is a term used to deal with the relations of the organism to one another and to their physical organisms. And the study is significant. The ecology is mainly on basis on environmental point of view. The relation between ecology must mix with the physical world. By this physical world, in these conditions, have a responsibility. Everybody should have a responsibility to protect the ecology. Once we are using the laptops or network sharing, we keep in mind that radiation and lot of pollution disturbances are around us. Okay, the heat will generate to our body. It causes very harmful to our health also. So please keep all in this mind. Not only on your health basis, but also ecology basis also. What is the COVID symptoms on ecology? How COVID will affect on ecology or improves ecology? COVID, firstly we will appreciate that COVID will reduce the ecology, radiation and improve the environment crisis also. So, I guide to preventing according to WHO and public health authorities, central and state governments also. All sections of the society, rich and poor, now play an important role to protect themselves and each other to help prevent in COVID-19 also. By escaping from the COVID symptoms, also remote working is very important, useful also. Social impacts of remote working on ecology. As far as ecology connected with society, the word ecology depends on society. Society needs ecology and ecology depends on society. The species have connected with the environment delicately. The modernization have created a heavy burden on ecosystem. Minerals, fossil fuels, these are a whole circulation, whole circle is generating. Every ecosystem is really defective and became overpopulation. Next impact is overpopulation. Humans does not have any natural predators to control the population. It is necessary to take action. Whereas many fishes in aquarium spoils the water, too many humans on the planet is an illustration. Family planning will reduce the strain also. Protect the water. Legal impacts. Next, legal impacts on ecology. The external environment of business pollutes the fresh weather in order to make profits. That means companies have establishing more in metropolitan cities as well as cities also, factories also. As we have seen in COVID crisis also, so many gas leakages or so many factories have burnt due to carelessness. Not for any radiation or anything technical problems. It is based on carelessness. So many accidents have happened in the factories and companies also. So companies, what's the motto is to earn profits, not only seen how surroundings have destroyed, how ecology has destroyed. They do not think of that point of view. So that in this point of view, of course, Environmental Protection Acts and many precedents, case laws are there, but nobody will stop that ecology imbalances. So in this, remote working is better to control the ecology and the legal point of view. Some of the declaration of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment, Stockholm Declaration, and UN Advisory Rio Declaration, and many case laws also there. And MC Mehta and Environmental Entrepreneur have developed the ecology. And finally, in case law, 1996 Supreme Court passed a judgment also would hold the state more responsible for maintaining natural resources, but it is not fulfilled up to now also. Finally, I made a conclusion that today world is modernized, technologized, and very fast accessible in all works, but in thinking of ecology to background, due to this virus will also develop on this one of the criteria also, and diseases have been developed easily. Health is wealth. As we protect the environment, thus environment will protect our health. Thus, as above said, ecology degradable will impact on many social and illegal impacts, as there are many laws are there, still no implementation from work from home will reduce the somewhat environment pollution. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. That was a very wonderful presentation. So, Professor Daniel, sir, your questions, please, and Dr. Shuchi Goel, ma'am, your questions.
Oh, thank you, dear presenter. Your topic it's quite interesting. I just picked a unique interest when I found the way I found the topic, the ecology at work. From
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. However, I would like to know why you chose to lump so many, methods in a study. So let me find out from you why you chose to have observation, participation, survey, and questionnaire all in one study that I consider not to be too complex to really understand the intricacies. So why did you choose so many of these methodologies, at the same in just one subject, one research?
For clear understanding, sir. First of all, in ecology point of view, everybody will think of one perspective only. I want to know different perspectives from different ways. From that, I have to solely go and participate with that person and interact physically with that person. Through it is able no, we can interact and so that I can choose survey method. Based on that, my data collection, I choose some, I choose some surveys from participation and observation methods, sir.
Okay, okay, that's okay. Then finally, my last question for you. Let me ask you, it's a very simple question. What is actually your motivation? Why did you choose this topic?
Choose this topic means recently so many accidents were happened and ecology also so much disturbed, destroyed also. My intention is somewhat we have to made whatever the presentation which I have given will leads to somewhat useful to the current society and somewhat change their minds in 1% also.
Oh, okay. So then finally, just a way of contribution, I will suggest that your recommendations should be presented in such a way that they will be organized into, an actionable policy platform. But there is no way researches can be useful if they do not influence actionable policies. So I would suggest that you put your recommendations in such a way that it could contribute or provide a basis for policies either at the community level, the state level, or the national level. Having said that, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir.
Your questions, Shruti ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, how do you measure ecology? And I believe you have surveyed. So who have you surveyed? What is the sample size? So these are my two questions.
I have selected only home remote working persons like softwares. So many of them are 50, 70% are I have selected. I have taken opinion, and 70% out of them are, some of them are homemakers, some of them are software, some of them are employees, and some of them are my relatives also.
So what is the age group to which they belong?
No, ma'am. It is of different age groups. Up to 50, I have selected, and I have participated with the old age people also. From my grandmother or neighbors, I have received that information.
Okay, and how did you measure ecology? Like you are studying the impact of this on ecology. So how did you measure the ecology? How did you conclude the impact?
How did you conclude the?
For concluding the topic, like impact of this on ecology, how did you quantify ecology?
Quantifying ecology means we have seen where is the fresh air and radiation, how the measures we have seen in the news report, weather report, the ecology imbalances are there, how the smoke will polluted our environment, atmosphere, the UV radiations have developed, the skin diseases have developed due to what? Due to ecology destruction, right?
So this is coming out from your survey or from the reports?
This is what coming out from observation method of surveys only. 50% are about survey methods only, but it have shown that visible, right? The environmental degradation has been clearly visible right now every day.
Okay.
Survey.
Okay, over to you, Shanu ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Tejasri ma'am, Daniel sir, and Shuchi ma'am. So now we have our next presenter, that is Kumar sir, Mr. Kumar Shailendra, and the title of his paper is COVID-19 and Organizational Culture, Adapting to the Uncertain Times. So over to you, sir. You may start presenting your screen and share your presentation. Tejasri ma'am, I would request you to kindly stop share.
Good evening to all of you. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you're very much audible, sir, and we can even see you.
Thank you. Audible, both audio and video feeds are live, I suppose.
Yes, sir, all working well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just request the ma'am, my previous presenter, if she can
Yes, ma'am.
stop.
Sure, sir, sure. Tejasri ma'am, I would request you to kindly stop share the screen. Or probably Shailinda sir, if you will start sharing, it will automatically ask you that.
But it is not allowing me to share my screen while other participants. Okay, now
Okay.
I suppose.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the organizers, and we have a wonderful session chair, Daniel sir. We have such a illustrious co-host of this session, Mr. Suchi ma'am. So I was listening through the all the credible credentials of both the say organizers of this conference, and I also like to thank the GSMC for providing us platform to present our research. So I, along with my co-authors Bhavita Singla and Dr. Sandeep Sharma, want to take you through some of the subtle aspects of the organization culture and how COVID-19 has changed it, because that is more subdued, that is more understated, because as we go through the businesses, as we go through the industry sectors, we will find that there are many aspects which are very apparent, which are very visible, but there are some aspects which are understated, which are cannot be seen say, by the naked eyes, especially the organization culture and the working practices. How COVID-19 has impacted the organization culture, more so because once you start making the culture of the organization, it is a very long game. It is not an overnight exercise that you start making the culture and today there is a COVID-19 pandemic, tomorrow there is some another kind of uncertainty on the environment and you can overnight change it. That is not going to happen. So that's why the organization culture, why the leadership positions, and why the subtle aspects of the organization working practices is something we are interesting to find out because of their subdued nature, because of their understated demeanor, and that encourage us to take this study, which is still ongoing. We are working on this particular study very hard, and we have come up with a conceptual framework that I would like to take you across through this presentation. Okay. So these are the table of contents. I will not put much emphasis on this. As we go through the presentation, you will get to know what we are going to discuss. Fine. So introduction part, we all know about the outbreak of a COVID-19, how it has changed the lives, how the new normal has risen, and across the business domains. And even if you talk about the media, from the BBC to the CNN, from the RT News to the Al Jazeera, you won't find any channel where the COVID-19 is not hogging a limelight. And as much as we hate this global pandemic, it is also kind of a reality for us, reality to adapt ourselves, reality to change the organization's culture, reality to make a new kind of a team formations, how the organizations work, how the organization culture persists. Before COVID, and now we are still in the COVID phase, and post-COVID, we don't know when that post-COVID word will actually coin, when we are certainly out of this COVID-19 situation, but how the scenario has changed, and how this changed scenario has impacted the organization's culture and the working practices. It is something that we are more interesting to find out. Because as we I said in my opening remarks that the organization culture and the working practices are more subtle aspects, it's more understated. And most of the managers that we talked about, we have used the Delphi interview technique during our research methodology. We have interacted virtually with the many middle and higher level managers of 4 different domains. In the research methodology, we have all the details. We have interacted with the automobile companies, we have interacted with the consumer durable companies, we have interacted with the FMCG, as well as the retail sector. So essentially, we have covered the manufacturing and the services sector. Not so services sector in a majority, because still COVID-19 has impact on the working of the service sector. We are witnessing that the manufacturing and the other sectors are picking up, but services are still finding the heat of this COVID-19 because of the personal interaction that you require in the services. Fine. So we specifically start looking into the subtle aspects of the culture and the organizational working that has borne the brunt of this COVID-19. And during our conversation, during our literature review, during going through the extant literature, we have found that the informal interaction and the practices, we have got it from the literature that the informal interaction and the communication and the camaraderie between the different people, between the different teammates, between the employees of the organization are something which is going to be having a very, very major impact on the performance of the organization. And the most dangerous part of this COVID-19, that this COVID-19 pandemic has completely taken away that informal camaraderie, informal interaction, and the communication between the employees, communication between the teams. Even this is the research backed by the Harvard and the Stanford, that the people or the teams, when they work in an informal environment, when they have that kind of informal interaction and communication, they are far more productive than the formal scenario or the formal environment that we are talking about. So we have got this cue from the literature, and building on this particular cue, we took a step in order to look deep into the organization culture and the working practices, and how this COVID-19 has impacted that, and how it is going to change all these practices, and what kind of a strategy an organization must adopt in order to stay relevant in the testing time, more so because of the COVID-19, because of the various challenges that are arising from the business horizon, both on the strategic level as well as the tactical level. Okay, so this is the literature review. I'll take you through briefly through the literature. So we have a total of 7 dimensions that we focused on. We went through the literature of a culture, we went through the literature of a leadership, work practices. Primarily, we look into the organizational working practices with a special reference to its culture, its top management, and its approach to the communication and the whole IT infrastructure in the organization, and how COVID-19 has emphasized the importance of the IT tools, and how that IT tools are virtually replacing the informal interaction that we were talking about. Because once you have that informal interactions replaced by the Zoom platform, or maybe the Google Meet or the other kind of IT tools, it becomes very, very difficult for the employees to share similar kind of a camaraderie, a similar kind of informal relation, and that have a very, very severe impact on the performance of the organizations. Fine. So that is the most important part when it comes to the organization's culture and the working practices in the COVID-19 area. Fine. So culture, we got from the literature that it is a very subtle, it is a very delicate, and it is a very intricately complex matter. You cannot have the culture strands separated from each other. You cannot separate the culture from the leadership or the top management behavior. So you need to be studying the organization culture in a holistic manner. You need to have all the stakeholders of the culture, leadership, work practices as a whole, so that the organizational practices can be arranged in a manner that the organization can benefit even in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I sincerely apologize to interrupt you in between, sir, but you've used 11 minutes of your presentation, sir, and I'm afraid.
So I have how many minutes, ma'am?
Sir, 15 minutes for the.
Okay, fine. So culture, I'll skip the literature review. So these are the 7 dimensions on which we have gone through the literature review: informal interaction, adaptability, and the agility. So these were our objectives after the informal interactions we have with the industry leaders. Our main objective was to identify the key changes and trends in organization culture. So we remain focused on the organization culture. We are not talking about the functional aspect of the organization, how marketing will change, how finance will change, how the HR will change, how the OB will change. But more importantly, we are looking into how the organizational culture as well as the working practices change. And based upon their interaction with the Delphi interview, we will trying to find out what kind of a conceptual framework we can provide to the organizations. Although this is still a conceptual framework, we are in the process of testing it empirically. But yes, conceptual framework we have made, and on the basis of that, we have recommended some of the practices to the industry leaders, that these practices can help them in order to go through this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, with ease, with a kind of a productivity and the efficiency that they want to have from their organization. I'll quickly go through as my time, I suppose, is quite limited in this presentation. Fine. So Delphi interview technique, we have used we have interacted with the middle and senior level managers of the 4 domains: automobile, consumer durable, FMCG, and the retail. Obviously, the interaction was virtual. We use the Zoom platform as well as the Google Meet, and semi-structured interview technique has been adopted, where we have some fixed questions, 5 or 6, and then we have a informal interaction on a rolling basis. As according to the heat of the moment, we keep on asking the questions and getting the answers from them. So total of 28 interactions we have, and average time of the interaction was around 18 minutes. So 15 to 20 minutes average time we have for a one interaction. So this is the classification, categorization. Automobile, we have a 7 interviews. Consumer durable, we went with the 8. For the FMCG, with 6, and for the retail industry, we have a 7 interviews. Okay, so on the basis of their findings or their interactions, specifically focused on the organization culture and the working practices, we have found that the senior level managers as well as the middle level managers are quite concerned with the erosion in their culture of the organization due to the COVID-19, especially the people who have invested so much into the informal interactions, into the team spirit, into the team culture, that kind of a camaraderie that they have with their subordinates during the pre-COVID-19 time. They were specifically worried that all that years of a hard work of making a rapport with their subordinates and the colleagues, all this has washed away with the one stroke of a COVID-19. So they are very concerned that this informal interactions going out of the window due to the COVID-19 is definitely going to create problem for the organization, more so on the front of the strategy, on the front of the corporate level. It might not be issue at the functional level, at the tactical level, but yes, at the corporate level, at the business level, when you have to make a decision related to synergy, related to the resources, it happens to be one of the most important parameters that the managers are really worried about. Fine, so these are the important factors we have identified. And then we have also seen the impact of a remote working directly on the informal interactions, that we have also got it corroborated from the literature, that the informal interactions happens to be one of the milestones of the performance, and these informal interactions are not happening because of the COVID-19 situation. So we have this particular scenario coming into the picture, and managers are worried about the bonding and the camaraderie, and they are also concerned about the lethargy and the fatigue of working from home. People might not be able to differentiate between their say personal responsibilities and their official responsibilities. Just presented, we have a first presentation, they are talking about the work-life balance, work-home balance. So that kind of a scenario they are also concerned about. And they also understand that now in the COVID-19 times, they need to adapt their leadership. They need to make certain changes in the leadership behavior, and they need to adopt the holistic approach to the stakeholders. That is the most important part. Initially, the customer happens to be at the focal point of all the interactions, of all the efforts of the organization, but now they really understand the importance of the employees. They have really come to know, understand the importance of the society. And as far as some managers have confided with us that now it is a time to redefine their CSR approach. What they say, the corporate social responsibility, initially it is just a lip service or kind of a marketing gimmick, but this COVID-19 has done such kind of a introspection, induced such introspection in the organizations, that their managers are now really looking seriously into the CSR, so that the society can get a right message that at the trouble time, at the testing time, the company stands with us. And now they will also get some kind of a brand equity coming out from this particular adaptation. On the basis of these findings, on the basis of these clubbing of the factors, we have come up with a conceptual framework where we are.
So we request
I'm
you
finishing,
to
I'm finishing.
kindly, yes, sir. Okay,
I'm
sure.
just,
yeah, because the time, although
2
has
minutes,
already
ma'am.
lapsed, but we request you to kindly continue. No, sir.
So this is the
Sure. Please go
so
ahead.
this is the conceptual work framework that we have made out of the our Delphi interviews, interaction with the seniors level managers, and they we come up with the this particular framework in which the communication of the values to not only to the employees but also to the customer and the society as a whole, as well as your suppliers, is a must. So you need to have a adaptive workforce. This is, so I'll switch on to the next slide, which is our recommendation, that your hiring policies must be taking a shape where you hire the resilient people. And by resilient people, we means people who are good enough to achieve the objective, but flexible enough to adopt new methodology. So that is the resilience application that we have found during our conversation, that you must be having a people who are rigid enough to achieve their objectives even during the testing time like a COVID-19, but they must be flexible enough to adopt new methodologies in order to do the same work. Fine. So you need to hire those kind of a resilient people. Then you need to communicate values, use the open platform, use the COVID-19 platform to come up with such a practices that the trust and transparency flows through the organization, not only for the internal customer, not only for the employees of the organization, but to the holistic approach where your supplier are happy with it, where your stakeholder are happy with it, where the society is happy with it. And then you need to exhibit the care and take this opportunity to redefine your CSR practices, take this opportunity of a COVID-19 as a blessing in disguise, where you can increase your brand equity among the society so that you can reap the benefits in the times to come. Fine. So I'm just concluding that the culture and the organizational practice have taken a hit because of the COVID-19, and it is quite a concern for the top level managers, and they are of the viewpoint that they need to adapt their organizational practices. They need to say come up with the new innovative practices in order to erode the impact of the COVID-19 on their organization. So that happens to be the conclusion of my presentation. Fine. So this is the appendix. I have put in the informal questions that we have asked for our conversation, and this is all from my side, ma'am. Floor is yours. I welcome any questions and queries from the session chairs. Yes.
Yes, over to you, Daniel, sir. Any questions? I cannot see sir in the meeting right now. Meanwhile, over to you, Shuchi ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so my question is with respect to the impact on the organizational culture. It is only with respect to the loss of camaraderie, or are there other important effects as well?
Yes, madam, we focused specifically on the informal communication, informal interactions, and its impact on the profitability, maybe a measurable or the intangible say aspects of the organizational performance. We are still in the process of working on that, because that will take some time in order to corroborate the data with our research. So empirical testing of this tangible as well intangible impact of the COVID-19 on the organizational behavior as well as the profitability, maybe the long term as well as the short term. So both these needs to be taken into account. So we are still in the process of doing that. But yes, as with respect to the informal communication and loss of the camaraderie, loss of the informal practices, that is something very much apparent from our interviews with the top level managers. Not so when we talk to the middle level managers having a 5 year of experience in our organization, but when we go above the hierarchy and when we interview the people having a more than 10 years of experience, having some kind of a leadership role in the organization, they are quite concerned that they have invested so much into the leadership, they have invested so much into this informal kind of a interaction, informal kind of a camaraderie between the stakeholders, between their subordinates also, and all this has been lost to some extent because they are not able to have that kind of informal communication and interactions with their subordinates. So
how does informal communication affect a company?
Madam, it's a empirically tested research that the informal communication means the communication which is out of your formal emails as well as the messages. Once you are out of the boardroom meeting and kind of interaction you have with your teammates, which you had with your say subordinates as well as the people at the say same level, that kind of a communication and that kind of a brainstorming sessions are more productive than the case when you sit in a conference room and try to put across your viewpoint. So that is the extent literature. We have a number of supports including the Harvard and the Stanford research which says that it is around say 30% more effective when it comes to the informal communication rather than the formal strategic meetings that we people have in the boardrooms.
Okay, and last question. One of the recommendations I can see here in the slide is resilient people.
Yes.
So how will it affect the organization culture in terms of personal interaction, loss of personal
Yes, ma'am.
interaction?
So that is the say one of the counterintuitive points that we have made, and that is something the people at the top leadership are also worried about. That once you hire the people who may not be well fit into the culture of the organization, so that can also to some extent erode the existing culture of the organization. But it is also a fact that the COVID-19 has already taken a toll on the organizational working practices. So you require some kind of a change agent in the organization who overall fit into the culture of your organization, but with a different approaches. You might not be requiring the same kind of a people who stick to a method A or B of doing the same kind of a work. You require a work to be done, but even if they take a different approaches, that could be a matter of choice for the organization, that they can try them, they can use them as a change agent in the organization, because some change has to be induced, whether it at the functional level or tactical level or the corporate level. So resilient means people who are good enough to achieve their objectives, but flexible enough to use the different kind of approaches because of the say COVID-19 changed realities, etc.
So how does this flow from your study, this recommendation of resilient people? Because we are focusing on the impact on culture or the organization culture, and which is primarily you're talking about the loss of personal interaction. So how
Yes.
does resilience in the people come out from your study as a recommendation?
As a recommendation, because we found from our interaction with the top level and the senior level managers that they are quite worried how to resist this kind of a erosion of the organization culture. So they know that this kind of a erosion has already taken place, but how to resist this erosion, how to make sure that the organization culture can be made again intact by the same kind of a practices or by same kind of a values rather than the practices. So we recommend that you need to hire some kind of a resilient people, some kind of a people who you can use as a change agent to make some kind of underlying changes in the organizational working processes, not necessarily on the cultural front.
Okay, good concept, I must say, and a good presentation, Moso.
Thank
Over
you.
to you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Professor Daniel, I will request you, sir, to kindly share the questions to the presenter, if any.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, the entire audience. Dr. Kuma, you actually, did a very wonderful presentation. I love your style and organization of your paper. However, the bulk of the questions I wanted to ask, my colleague had already asked, but I need to ask just this one question. You are writing on COVID-19 and organizational culture, adapting to challenge of remote working.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so my question is, how sustainable is this paradigm, what you are presenting, in an era of, when we are able to, let's say, for instance, when the world is able to conquer COVID-19, which I know they will, and probably when we're able to stay for a while without any serious pandemic, how do you think this paradigm will subsist in terms of having an enduring relevance to organizational culture and remote working? Or is it just designed because of COVID-19?
Okay, sir. According to my limited understanding, the COVID-19 is not a one kind of a pandemic that has come, and once we have the vaccine, it will go away. It has a far-reaching impact on the organization culture and the behavior, especially with respect to the working practices. We have already witnessed IT sector, which is kind of a permanently adapting to the COVID-19 challenges, and they have allowing their workforce to work permanently from their home. We might not see that kind of a transition phase when it comes to the services Obviously, because of the services nature is of the human interaction, and we cannot have that kind of a scenario just we have in the IT sector. But with respect to the organization culture, I suppose this is a blessing in disguise. This is an opportunity to rewrite the organizational behavior as well as the cultural aspects of the organization. And if organizations can work on these things, can work on the re-engineering their teamwork, their team spirits, and more importantly, employing the people who are somewhat multifaceted in taking the different approaches, in taking the multitasking rather than say multitasking. I will be more concerned about the multifaceted in handling the different kind of organizational behavior and scenarios, because multitasking or the functional aspect of the organization, maybe the marketing, finance, HR, they are not as subtle, as understated, and as convoluted, complex as we have the organizational culture and the behavior. So that will be that this is an opportunity when we can redefine our practices, redefine the culture of the organization, not changing the basic tenets of the organization, but at least when it comes to the operating mechanism, when it comes to the functional procedures, why not to take a new step? Why not to re-engineer those steps in a manner that it can benefit the organization both in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, while setting a new goalpost for the companies to follow. It may be a risky, it will require the resources, especially putting money into the people, not on the IT side, but on the say soft skill sides that might require organizational resources to a large extent. But then there will be organization, I'm sure, which will see this COVID-19 as an opportunity to redraw, to reimagine their practices and to come up with a culture which is very conducive not only to the stakeholders inside the organization, but as a society whole when we talk about, because that will to some extent also alleviate the problem like a pollution, like a ecology that we have just seen in the case of a previous presenter. So taking a holistic approach, communicating care and values, taking ethical guidelines where we do not require any government recommendation or a law in order to get to the CSR practice, in order to provide 2% of the profit in the CSR activities, rather than doing it voluntarily, rather than doing it taking care of the nature, taking care of the environment, and taking the people along. Why not to, just like a Maruti Suzuki example, if I can quote, the company is so much conducive in the holistic aspect of the organization that its Gujarat plant, it not only bought the land for its own manufacturing facility, but also for its suppliers, also for its vendors. So that is something called all-encompassing approach, where you become holistic in nature and try to include as many stakeholders as possible. And once you have the society as a stakeholder, you will find many of the problems we can easily say fade away. We can easily tackle, whether it's a climate change or whether it happens to be the organization culture, or whether it's a case of ethics and the moral and the other kind of values.
That's okay. That's brilliant. That's okay, Dr. Kumar. Thank you very much. I think that will be all for now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Daniel. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. That was indeed a very detailed and a very insightful presentation, sir. Before we go to the next presenter, Professor Daniel, sir, I have a request to make to you that if you could please, I just wanted to confirm that is the Google Sheet editable at your end? Or if you're marking the participants on the sheet which has been shared.
Professor, I think they have to send the editable copy, because the copy I have here is not editable. So I've been trying to grade them on my paper, on my table, so that I can transfer the scores when I get it.
Okay, sir, because probably we could please, if we could request you to kindly refresh it, sir, because the editing rights have been granted by the conference team. So if you could please refresh the sheet and then try it, so I believe you would be able to enter into the marks.
Okay, so let me just try and refresh it now.
Okay, sure, sir. Meanwhile, may I ask the next participant to share the presentation, sir? Okay, so meanwhile, sir must be resolving and starting the will be editing it. So I would request the next participant, the next paper participation, the next paper is from Dr. Gaurav Jindal. The presentation would be made by the co-author Janvi. So I'm making you as the co-host Janvi, then you would be able to share your screen. You may unmute yourself, Janvi. I have made you the co-host.
Ma'am, am I audible to you?
Yes, you're very much audible, Janvi. You can start with your presentation, and the title of the paper is A Comparative Analysis of HP, Dell and Lenovo in the Context with Corporate Social Responsibility, followed in India with special reference to COVID-19 scenario.
Yes. Ma'am, may I share the screen now?
Yes, you may start sharing, Janvi. All the best.
Ma'am, is the screen visible now? Okay, so a very good evening to one and all present here. Today I am here to give a brief description about my research paper. That is, the title is A Comparative Analysis of HP, Dell and Lenovo in Context with Corporate Social Responsibility, followed in India with special reference to COVID-19 scenarios. My co-author is Dr. Gaurav Jindal. Okay. So now the table of contents that is included the introduction, objectives, research methodology, data analysis, recommendation, conclusion, and question and answers. So firstly, what is CSR? What is corporate social responsibility? We're gonna learn about it. Corporate social responsibility is voluntary action or effort which a company makes to conduct operation in accordance with environmental, social, and economic sustainability. CSR is self-governed or self-regulated, and it is embedded into the business model. It is growing popularity and being noticed by customers as a valuable facet of any business, no matter their size or specialty. In recent years, CSR has become somewhat of a buzzword as a corporate relationships with non-profit organizations have become more and more important. India is the first country in the world to make corporate social responsibility mandatory following an amendment to the Companies Act 2013 in April 2014. Businesses can invest their profit in areas such as education, poverty, gender equality, and hunger as a part of any CSR compliance. CSR activities during COVID-19 done by HP, Dell, and Lenovo. Firstly, we see what the HP is doing. HP has made a grant to save the children for COVID-19 relief in India, and HP Foundation is matching team members' donations through HP Gifts. HP is helping researchers across the globe to make COVID-19 breakouts vaccine discovery with high performance computing and artificial intelligence technologies. HP has provided team members with resources and suggestion of virtual volunteering opportunities in response to COVID-19. Dell is ensuring environmental sustainability, ecological balance, protection of flora and fauna, conservation of natural resources, and maintaining quality of soil, air, and water. It gives contribution to the Prime Minister National Relief Fund or any other fund set up by the central government for socio-economic development and relief and welfare of the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, and other backward classes, minorities, and women. Lenovo is committed to environmental responsibility, all aspects of its business, from product design and supply selection to manufacturing facilities, management, transportation and logistics, and product lifecycle management, including recycling and reusing. Lenovo is committed to providing its employees with safe and healthy workplace. It ensures employees have suitable equipment and facility and offers compensation packages and supported by a strange voluntary workplace safely standards. Next, objectives of corporate social responsibility: to facilitate exchange of experiences and ideas between various stakeholders for developing a framework for strengthening of CSR initiatives, to facilitate any other assistance directly or indirectly for activities which seek to promote CSR practices, to establish and deepen links with the organization in previous class which promote CSR activity practices, for exchange of ideas and for collaborated action and programs. Also to collaborate and to support directly or indirectly the initiative and for an individual, group, organization or institution in promoting good practices in CSR. Next, the research methodology. As in this pandemic, we all know it was very difficult for all of us to collect data through interviews, survey and observation, which are going to be offline. But I didn't selected the online because at my end, it is not preferable according to me. So we decided to collect information through various websites and web pages like HP web page, Dell web page, Lenovo web page and some CSR pages, and also comparative research papers. Then we analyze the information and compare each of them. Lastly, after analyzing the information, we presented it in our own words. Next, data analysis. The comparison between the three, firstly done on the basis of women empowerment. Firstly, we talked about the HP. Currently, 36% of their global workforce is made up of women, 30% of their leadership is female, and 21% of their technical roles are filled by women. The women of HP were front and center as the company sponsored and screened the film Brave Rising Girl in honor of International Women's Day. Dell plans to significantly change the diversity of its 1,57,000 employees over the next decade by making women account for 50% of its global workforce, up from 30% today. Some of the programs listed below are Leading Women at Dell, Managing Success Now, STEM Education. Then come to Lenovo. They are now the global partner of the Women's Forum Global Meeting. The event is core to out commitment and to supporting diversity and inclusion around the globe. Its aim is to empower female leadership to encourage young women to choose this path. Some of the programs listed below are Women in Lenovo Leadership, Women's Leadership Development Program. Next, a comparison is done on the basis of environmental sustainability. Sustainable production network and supply chain and minimum carbon impact are the core focus of HP's sustainable strategy. One of the three core pillars of its sustainable impact strategy, one is the planet and the other two are people and community. HP comes to create lasting positive change in each of the three areas. Then, environmental responsibility is about more the creating eco-friendly products or individual initiatives. Their aspirations and the individual goal reflect the approach of considering the environment at every stage of technology's life cycle, from design through the end of life, and then measuring the impact to inform future efforts. Lenovo's environmentally conscious product program supports the reduction or elimination of potential health hazards by specifying the use of environmentally preferable materials when applicable. It is an industry leader with respect to energy efficient products, the use of environmentally preferred materials, and product packaging. Then the last comparison is on the basis of education in India. What the HP is doing for the education in India. HP today announces new education partnerships, blended learning programs and donations around the world to respond to COVID-19. These include Print, Play and Learn, a free HP global resource, as well as initiatives launched in India to deliver a combination of educational, engaging and fun online and printed content which support remote teaching and learning. Then, education is what builds a nation generation after generation, and the process begins early on, first at homes, communities, and then in the schools. India being a large country country with a huge population of school-going children is dependent on its public schooling system largely. With an aim to develop this crucial institution, Dell EMC India began its school adoption program in 2011. Lenovo is a global industry leader in the education market and are uniquely positioned to make sustainable difference through support of education-related programs and initiatives. It aims to advance, enhance, and external education at all levels. Also support education-related programs and initiatives through industry-leading products and technologies, community investments, and program sponsorships. Then we come to recommendation. We personally recommended HP a safety audit can be done by the company with object to minimizing loss, and audit team should consist of appropriately qualified personnel. Close monitoring of CSR by the responsible person for operation of corporation can help implementation of policies and its impact. Dell. New research should be in the direction of developing appropriate methodology for measuring CSR and evaluating the impact of CSR. Separate guidelines are to be provided for different level of organization. Special provision is to be made for the lower level employees. Lenovo. Allocating finance for treating CSR as an investment from which returns are expected. Monitoring CSR activities and license closely with implementation partnerships such as NGOs to ensure that initiatives really deliver the desired outcomes. Lastly, we come to the conclusion. It is evident that CSR is a noble initiative wherein the corporate entities which reap the benefits of resources available at the society helps to fill the gap of socio-economic inequality prevalent in the country and address the problems faced by the society at large. Firstly, however, in HP company, there is an evidence of improvements to company social responsibility policies. This is because firm has realized that it is financially prudent to use environment resources wisely. As in case of Dell's, corporate social responsibility initiative influence its financial performance in several ways. They ensure that the company maintains compliance with all applicable social and environmental regulations, which also increase its perceived reputation in the eyes of the end customer. At the end, looking at Lenovo's performance, the company should be involved in the business level strategies, corporate level strategies, and the green strategies that are important in the management of the company. So I am done with from my side and I'm up for the question answers now.
Thank you, Janvi. That was a very detailed presentation. So over to you, Daniel, sir. Any questions for Janvi?
The presentation is great, and time management is awesome. I can see that the brilliant lady was really conscious of time and
yes, sir.
Tried as much as possible to summarize her points.
Yes, sir.
However, I want to make a contribution. I don't have any question to ask her. Dear presenter, I will suggest that just like I spoke to other presenters, the issue of policy recommendation is important. I have come to realize that more often than not, the essence of research is to influence policy. I will advise that you recast your recommendation to have a policy framework and that direction. That way, the research will have a utilitarian value. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor. Over to you, Shuchi ma'am, your questions.
Hi, I have one question. Okay, with respect to education, what has been the change in the CSR by these companies, pre-COVID, post-COVID?
Ma'am, pre-COVID, they are offering like the offline courses, which the you can pay and then go for school in schooling as well. At the school levels, the teachers can promote their courses. And in the COVID-19 scenario, in the education sector, they are offering free.
Where my external exam evening is my.
they are offering free courses for the children so that they can get motivated at the time, and being not so much of cost, so it is very like for the literate students, it is very beneficial for them to join these courses.
All right, Janvi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Janvi. Thank you, sir and ma'am, for the wonderful discussion. Now we have the last presentation for the day by Mr. Swaraj Manchanda. The topic of his presentation is Observing the Origin, Feasibility and Opinions over Work from Home in the Context of Different Sectors of Economy, a Theoretical Review. So I'll just make you the co-host to allow you to share your screen, Swaraj, sir. Please give me a minute.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. Good evening to all of you who are present here, my colleagues and all the fellow faculties. Thank you all for inviting us, and thank you all for giving an opportunity to present a paper. And a special warm welcome to the guest from abroad, Mr. Daniel, sir. So, okay, I'll be sharing my screen and presenting my paper. Okay, so this is my topic here, that I have observed the origin, feasibility and opinions of work from home in context of different sectors of the economy. It is a theoretical review, and my name is Swaraj Manchanda. I am an assistant professor in DME Management School, and country obviously I am coming from India. So these are the table of contents that I have included in my presentation. I am having an abstract, introduction, objectives of my study, methodology adopted, review of literature, and then findings and conclusions. If I talk about the brief of this paper, and here, as I already mentioned while stating my topic, that I have explored the origin, feasibility of work from home, and opinions of renowned researchers who did research over this concept, that how it can be applied to improve the work life of employees of various sectors of economy. This concept has been interpreted by different people in different manner. Even if I talk about researchers, then their views are somewhere contradicting each other. And I have tried to explore those interpretations and opinions by doing a theoretical review of their researches and literature which is available. So, as we all know that work is worship, this is a very old quote, but we all are aware with the year 2020 that what it has done in terms of that worship. Now it has changed the worship timings, it has changed the worship mannerism, it has changed the place of worship too. We all are working either from our bedroom or from lawns or from coffee shop. Many of the people in corporates, they are doing like that. And not only in India, it is happening globally now. Now, if I talk about the pandemic corona, then it started at the end of 2019, and then it came to India, our nation, in the beginning of year 2020. And everybody started following a new equilibrium, a new normal, which they call work from home. Though it is being implemented as a new normal, we are calling it new normal, but it is not a new concept. It is a very old concept. It was being implemented globally and in India in few places earlier before the pandemic occurred. But right now it has garnered a huge attention and huge focus because it is being made a usual practice for all the types of employers, for all the types of concerns. Because of the safety concerns, stay at home, stay safe norm that we are following, social distancing that we have to follow. Okay, because of these things that we are supposed to follow because of corona, we have made this a new practice, and for majority of us. But it was there in the beginning too. It was there before industrial revolution rather. This work from home concept today, if I talk about it, then right now it is using latest technology, laptop, mobile devices, and we are using specific computer programs, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet. For example, right now we are having a conference. Usual practice of DME is that we used to hold this conference in the big auditorium of DME, but right now we are not having those things with us, and we are doing it through Zoom platform. But it is an amazing way, it is an amazing experience going on. Researchers, however, say that this philosophy, like other philosophies, has two sides, pros and cons. Though it has changed its shape over the years, it has become more tech savvy, more quick, and it is connecting people sitting in Nigeria, UK, US, India, and other countries together in a very quick manner. But somewhere it has pros and cons. For example, internet issues are there. For example, the environment at your home might affect your performance when you are working online. So there are many things which are there as cons, and there are many things which are there as pros, which have been already discussed by the people before me. They have very well discussed and elaborated those things. Now, if I talk about this concept, it is gaining prevalence and dominance in the today's scenario, but it was existing before this as well. Objectives of my research. So here I have tried to explore the origin of work from home, history, then implementation in different sectors of economy, and why it was implemented. Then I have made observations regarding the utility and feasibility of this concept in different sectors like manufacturing and education. And I have done this all using theoretical review of existing literature. Research methodology, I have already pointed it out that it is a theoretical review. I have not applied that much statistics, though it is a lesson for me. I'll definitely do it in future when I'll make another research paper. I'll try to apply as much stats as possible. But in this paper, because of certain time constraints, I went for theoretical review. And I have reviewed the literature available on internet and on various journals. And I have summarized their observations in the form of a paper. Data used is purely secondary. Review of literature. Now, if I talk about the literature context, work from home as a policy came into commercial literature in the year 1985 by two researchers, Greenhouse and Butel. They explained that why work from home is being practiced. The reason for it is work-home conflict. Work-home conflict is a term that says that when your work-related responsibilities are conflicting with your house-related responsibilities. Every individual, may it be a male or a female, are having two aspects in their life. One is work and the other is family. When these two things come into conflict with each other and work starts dominating over your household responsibilities, then work-home conflict arises. It can also be interpreted in reverse manner when your home starts dominating over work. That is called home-work conflict. So work-home conflict or home-work conflict, both the things can be resolved by using work from home concept. It allows flexibility to the people that they can operate from their own house without coming to the office, without spending time in transportation, without spending time in office. They can easily manage both the things. And as said rightly in the beginning, that this work from home concept is like a coin. It is having two sides. So same way they said that it is having pros and cons. That's why it produced mixed results. The firms where they applied this concept gave mixed results in terms of success. Shockley and Allen, two other researchers, also wrote a paper based on this concept. The title is a bit long. When flexibility helps. It is another look at the availability of flexible work arrangements and work-family conflict. They said that this practice is only good for those employees who have high demands existing at their homes. Specifically, they have termed females needing this concept more as compared to males. Hashtag I am feminist. I am not in that view support. That was a view given by the researchers in their paper. And this view has been contradicted too. There is another research paper that was written by Shamir and Solomon. You can see the last bullet point. They contradicted the findings of Shockley and Allen by saying that it is not always the case that females love work from home concept. Even if I talk about my personal experience and I'm working with the faculties at DME, I very well understand that work from home is a typical task for married women who are having children. So definitely it is not a very easy to do job when it comes to females managing home and work simultaneously at the same place. So Shockley and Allen also found the same thing, that even for women, this is a challenging task because at home they have to manage their children. And in the first paper itself, the ma'am who was presenting that paper, she rightly pointed out that when a person is sitting at home, he's having wife, he's having children, These things create problems and challenges when you are working at home. So it is not always desirable for males or females. Shamir and Solomon also told that advancements in information and communication technology have brought the work from home concept back to picture, and this concept was already existing before industrial revolution. It is not that it was a new concept, it was already before industrial revolution, when there were no machines, when there were no factories, when there were no industrial settings. Work from home was at that time also prevailing in the economy. People were earning through their homes only. So this was an old concept, but it has changed its shape and form throughout the years that have passed. Also, there are only certain profiles that permit work from home. You cannot apply it in every profile. Like you cannot apply it in case of those people who are construction workers. I can't ask them to work from home because it is Corona pandemic. So stay at home and start constructing from there only. No, it is not possible. They have to come at the field. They have to work in the field. Same way, medical professionals who are doing surgeries, they cannot operate from their home. They have to come into the field. They have to treat the patient. So this is not possible for every profile that we can imply work from home. Work from home is the most feasible and easy to implement method for either low profile jobs like clerks who are doing data entry. They can do it. They can make the reports and the documents at their home sitting, and they can just submit it when they are just going to finish up their month. They can submit it at that time in their office. Same way for the skilled people who are having a highly skilled background like programmers, researchers, website developers. These type of people can do work from home because mostly their things are connected with the laptop, with mobile devices, with technology, which can be easily moved from one place to another and which can be easily handled using internet. So work from home is giving mixed results because it is not applicable to all the sectors. Like I told, doctors cannot do work from home, but the skilled programmer can easily implement that policy. Also,
Apologies
work
to
from home.
interrupt you in between,
Yes, ma'am.
sir,
Yes, ma'am.
but we have consumed 11 minutes of the presentation.
Okay,
So
ma'am. I'll be a bit fast. Thank you for reminding me. So work from home, though it gives flexibility of working hours, satisfaction to spend time with family, and even higher output in lower and middle level workers. But for highly skilled workers, there is one more point that I would like to highlight. They already have this work from home flexibility in the form of flexi hours. So flexible working hours are already there with them. They have to just complete the work no matter from where they are handling it, whether they are handling it from home or whether they are handling it from office. And also it depends upon the size of the firm who is implementing the work from home policy. If it is a private sector enterprise with large size or a public sector enterprise, work from home will definitely work because they have the tech, they have the surveillance mechanisms, they have the controlling mechanisms, they can control the output of the workers, see them. But for grocery shops, I don't think work from home can work. Sorry for the sound effect. I did so to make my PPT a bit interactive. Okay. So I've already told these things in my review that it is applicable for different sectors like consultancy, advisory, banking, education, information processing, IT enabled sectors, but it is not applicable for manufacturing, healthcare, defense, security, grocery, and basic requirements. Finding and conclusion. So I'll be a quick in terms of giving out my findings and conclusion. It is not applicable for all sectors, as I already told you. It is applicable for certain specific tech-savvy sectors only. Secondly, it is desirable for those working women which have given up their jobs because of family issue or marriage or any other issue pertaining to family life, or those employees who are having work-home conflict or home-work conflict. Thirdly, it is become a good new normal alternative, but we need a framework to implement it properly. Like in developing nations, if I talk about India, most of our population, as Daniel sir rightly said, lives in rural area. They are not having internet facilities with them. They are not having latest devices with them. They are not using MacBook like we are doing. So definitely they are going to have problem in managing their work if we apply social distancing norm and if we apply stay home, stay safe policy over them in the name of Corona. Definitely they are going to lose. And as we have seen in news channels, that most of the workers who were working on sites, physical workers, physical laborers, construction workers, only they got affected by Corona. We middle class and rich class people did not get that much effect because we were able to transform our working philosophy from offline to online working, but they could not do it. So there must be a policy of work from home that is applicable for all to ensure equality and social justice. Then if I talk about work from home concept, I've already told you it is not applicable for farmers, workers in construction. We cannot shift them to home. Skilled and tech savvy people can only enjoy work from home benefits. And it has also given rise to contractual and consignment basis jobs. Right now, the scenario is such that professionals can work from home on a consignment or contract basis. They need not become full-time. And some jobs are becoming such that from this year, they will be completely made on a work from home basis. They are going to be completely altered and converted into work from home profiles. So that was all. Lastly, this one point also is there, that it is not always necessary that work from home will enable to measure the results correctly, because it is not based on number of hours. It is based on the completion of the job. So highly efficient workers are able to derive good benefits from work from home, but those workers who are not that skilled and efficient, they might lose because of this concept, because it is based on efficiency, not on the working hours. So, okay. I'm open to question and answers.
Thank you, Swaraj sir. Very detailed
you,
and a comprehensive study. So over to you, Professor Daniel, sir, your questions to the presenters. To the presenter, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Your presentation is apt and lucid.
Thank you, sir.
Time management, perfect.
Thank you, sir.
So I just want to ask you a very simple question. May I know, please, Professor, why you chose to write on this topic?
Sir, actually, I wanted to know that we are all making work from home a new normal. We are all calling it that it is, being practiced in majority of the organizations right now. But I wanted to see that from where did it arouse, why it arose, and is it really an effective and worthy method which can be applied to all the sectors, or is it just suitable for those sectors which are having latest technology and equipments with them? See, economy is made of different sectors. We are having defense, we are having healthcare, we are having manufacturing, we are having technology sectors also, we are having the poor people also who are living in rural and semi-urban areas. We have to see all of them. The purpose of research is to derive something which can be beneficial for all these sectors of the economy, not just for a few. So that's why I wanted to see that whether it is applicable for all of us, or whether it is applicable for a few sectors only, and why this concept has garnered so much importance.
Okay, that's interesting. And from your findings, as an Indian that can be situated as a developing economy, because
Yes,
I know that India is not there yet, even though she's making tremendous and fantastic effort towards,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what do you think are the general obstacles in having what your proposition implemented in India?
Sir, basically we need to provide internet and other related technology infrastructure, and we need to make it accessible to all the people. We need to give them education regarding how to use it, how to apply it, and we cannot simply rely over work from home. We need to make a combination of this policy with the offline working. We cannot assume that every time we'll be working from home, because home is also in itself another environment which has its own variables and factors. It can interfere with the work anytime, any moment. So we need to ensure that there is a balance between the two. They must run parallel to each other, not as substitutes to each other. This is what I believe. Then only work from home can be effective way of ensuring the productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness of the work being done in different sectors.
Okay, thank you, sir. Professor Daniel, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, I can hear him. Even though I had a little break, but I was following him.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that will be all for now.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Over to you, Shuchi ma'am. Your question, please.
Okay, I have one question. Okay, you talked about the feasibility of remote working in this different sectors. So
Yes,
you
ma'am.
talked about that it is not feasible in the manufacturing sector, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it completely not feasible or it is feasible to a certain extent?
Ma'am, it depends upon the type of articles that they are manufacturing. If those things, they can be put in this framework of work from home easily, and if it is such a thing that does not require complex machineries which can be only worked upon in the industrial premises, then definitely work from home can be implemented in the manufacturing sector. But when we talk about manufacturing sector, picture comes into our mind that we have a factory where we are having complex machineries, and for that we need human intervention every time in the industrial premises. We cannot imagine work from home in that context. The senior most manager can work from home in that scenario, but the factory workers will have to come in the industry, will have to come in the factory, and will have to produce in the factory itself. So this depends upon the type of article that we are producing.
Okay, so it is feasible to a certain extent,
To a
depending
certain
on the
extent,
nature
yes,
of the
yes,
product.
yes.
Okay, ma'am. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
ma'am. And
Thank you.
thank you, Professor Daniel. So with this, we come to the conclusion of all our technical session papers. So Professor Daniel, I would request you to kindly give your overview on the presentations which we had today, or the overall session. And we would be even delighted, sir, if for a short little time you can have your video also on, if the stability has improved any with time.
Thank you very much, wonderful organizers of this program. I must express my sincere appreciation because it's really, very enriching academic discourse. And I will implore your organization to continue to organize programs like this for the purpose of updating knowledge, especially as it surrounds contemporary issues in a dynamic world. Having said that, we had a very brilliant, session of presentations today, and I started my own masterclass by looking at the socio-economic aspect of remote working. And I was able to, as much as possible, to look at what is obtainable in the advanced countries. And of course, there is no way I would have left out the developing countries where I find myself by nature of origin. And I didn't just stop there. I was able to identify the obstacles that developing economies have really gotten into and how to get out of them. I also didn't forget the fact that I need to provide them, general solutions, which I presented in the course of my presentation. And thereafter, there were other sets of papers that were presented by scholars and professors, ranging from looking at, remote working, especially from the point of view of the home environment, which was presented by one of us. And she did a wonderful job there by looking at the intersocial relationship within the family vis-a-vis the remote working within the home environment. We also had another paper by one of our presenters who tried to look at the ecology of work from home, and that was a brilliant one. She tried as much as possible to look at the ergonomics and the work situation within the home environment, and that was a very good one there. I must commend Professor Kuma Shalenda, who did a very brilliant presentation and organizational culture and adapting to uncertain times. My only quarrel with my professor friend is that he's not a very good manager of time, and but I must be honest with you, his presentation was awesome. Then we had another case that was entitled
sir, if you could slightly adjust your camera, because now your video is very much visible, but only your the slide. Yes, we can very much see you. Yes, yes, very.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes,
It's
perfect,
better
sir.
now.
Perfectly better, sir. Thank you so much.
So yeah, we looked at the comparative analysis of Fidel and Lenovo in context with corporate social responsibility in India, which was presented by our colleague here, and she did so much justice. And finally, the professor from DME that just presented did a wonderful work, and he was able to actually, show a mastery in looking at the origin, feasibility, and opinions over work from home in the context of different sectors of the economy. All in all, I must confess that this session was a very auspicious one. We've been able, in one way or the other, to capture the different aspects, different angles of remote working, and it complements the previous sessions of the other days. And then by so doing, we are actually expanding, our views about the challenges of remote working in contemporary society. I must be honest with you, I enjoyed every session of it, and I will finally want to thank you, ma'am. I want to thank the management of DME. I want to thank all of you for the wonderful opportunity granted, not just myself, but all the other persons who made this occasion a memorable one. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. One last request, sir. We've bothered you too much for the day. Is the marks which you've entered into the file, sir, are these the final one? Because the conference team would be downloading the same, and and it won't be editable further. So to both Shuchi ma'am and Professor Daniel.
Yes, ma'am. The marks awarded by me are final and they can be downloaded.
Okay, sir, is it a good to go from your side also, Professor Daniel, sir? Are these marks conclusive?
Yes, I am done with it, and I will share it as soon as possible. I'm done with the evaluation.
Okay, yes, sir, because the editing rights will not be further available after the closure of this session. So I once again humbly request you to kindly finalize the same so that these can be downloaded by the conference team. You may take a minute or so to finalize, sir. Meanwhile, I would request Shuchi ma'am to kindly give her views on the session and give the concluding remarks for the same.
Hi everyone, once again. This theme of the session, that was socio-economic, this was quite apt given the everything ultimately impacts the economy, whether it is COVID or anything else. And I found the papers to be quite good, especially the presentation part. All the presenters had good presentation skills. I particularly liked the concept of how the loss of personal touch has impacted the culture of an organization during COVID times. I also like the other papers, like how children are impacted by the COVID. So particularly while discussing the impact of remote working or COVID, we focus on the working population or the middle age group people, but very less frequently we come across the impact from the children point of view. So that was one such new area that we saw here. And then we talked about CSR as well, where CSR from the point of view of 3 companies, HP, Dell and Lenovo, was discussed with special reference to COVID-19. This was another different topic that the author has attempted to explain. And lastly, we also saw the impact on ecology, and how in the last presentation we saw Mr. Swaraj discussing how the concept of remote working may not be feasible in certain sectors as compared to other sectors. So overall, it was an enriching these all were enriching presentations, and the topics were not very related to each other. They focused on different topics, and there was no repetition of topics per se here. So overall, I had a good time listening to all the presenters, and I wish them all the best in the future with their research.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your valuable time as a session chair as well. So I request all the participants herein to kindly fill the feedback form shared in the chat box. So once again, Professor Daniel, I extend a heartfelt thanks on behalf of entire DME fraternity. Over to you, Roli ma'am. Any thing you wish to convey to sir?
I would like to thank sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time and being with us, and for the masterclass as well. Would like to thank you. Thank you for being there. Thanks to Shuchi ma'am also for being the session chair for the session. Thank you so much, everyone. And to the Zoom management team, to Shanu ma'am, Bhupinder sir, Pooja ma'am. Thank you to everyone. And also to the wonderful audience.
Thank you
for being there throughout. Thank you so much.
So one last
Daniel, just one last thing. Are you done with the sheet? Is it done from your end, all the marks and everything? Because now I would be downloading it and I will be taking the rights from the external and internal chair. So if the marks are done, allow me to kindly download it now.
Yeah, you can download, and please confirm if you've gotten it. I've sent it.
So I can see it. It's a Google sheet, so I can see it. I can see your marks. I just want to know whether these are the final marks from your end or not.
Final marks, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So I am now downloading the sheet from my end, and the rights will now not be available to the internal and external chair to edit it further. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We formally come to the closure of the session. Thank you, Professor Daniel, sir. We thank you for your time and your insights on the socio-economic aspects of remote working. So I request all the participants to kindly exit. Only then we would be closing the meeting. If anyone has not filled the feedback form, please copy the link and you may fill then in your end. So thank you, Bhupinder sir, Shuchi ma'am, Pooja ma'am, everyone for your valuable time and cooperation. So I'm formally closing the meeting now. Thank you so much. A good day to all of you.